Dragon Lucky episode 0x2A. That's 2A. I can't remember what that is in hex, but one way or another, we'll start today with some Dragonchain news. Just posted some short pieces to fill in the community on some details and new community on everything else. First up, of course, was profitability, and that's been a common question across crypto, I guess, entirely. But we've had to field that question a lot, and we, of course, have NDAs with pretty much everyone we're working with, and there are a lot of people that use the platform that we don't know entirely what they're doing as well. It's a platform. So in this, we at least got permission to say that, yeah, we have an annual contract that is a 7-figure contract, and it is a really good bit of work, really exciting, really strategic stuff that hits a lot of the points that a lot of the services that we offer, which, consultation, development, hosting, and a lot of development actually. So really good stuff. Next, we have info about the Dragonchain office and the condo. And this has been a particular favorite of some of the people out there on Twitter, and sometimes we would have trolls asking us about this because there was a lot of misinformation about what happened and what we did, and we were never able to completely tell the story. So we had to just say what happened, and with this, we're hoping to really clear it up and make it very understandable to people why we did what we did with this purchase. By the way, a really nice picture here, some great journalism, and of the actual front of the building where the condominium was. So when we had the public software license token sale, we had a public proceeds distribution section where we told how we were going to use the Bitcoin and Ethereum. It was probably altogether too uncommon practice to explain what you were going to do with the money. I mean, we basically said, okay, with this, we're going to improve the scaling of the commercial platform that is already in place. It was an open source platform that was spun straight out of Disney. More on that in a little bit. But we wanted people to know, okay, we're going to use these things. And part of it, because it is crypto and because it is particularly volatile throughout its history, was that we were going to hold as diversified a portfolio as we could for the operating expenses. And we did that. We weren't able, for various legal reasons, to diversify as much as we had planned and had wanted to, but we did at least maintain some level there of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and US dollar, and in this case, real property. And of course, we also have other assets. We have laptops, and we have machines and things like that. That, of course, in the normal operating, you end up building up. So in 2017, in late 2017, December, we sold all we know. We knew Bitcoin was at its height, and there were a lot of rumors around Tether that were pretty scary. So we basically said, okay, we're going to exit Bitcoin. We got out between 17.5 and 20K, which was really good, probably as good as we could have done. And with that, and there will be other information coming for some of the reasons that we did even more of these details, but we basically needed to purchase a new office space, and we looked at commercial office space. We looked at smaller office spaces that were independent ground floor facilities, things like this. And when we get into it, the reason was that we were doing key generation, for the wallets, for signings, everything else. Of course, we'd have secure meetings with management, with lots of proprietary info and planning, especially back then, if you remember. Remote employees were visiting Dragonchain headquarters, and in Bellevue, I mean, hotels are not cheap. And then we needed a place to store high security documents, in particular the hardware wallets, right? It was interesting because we had a WeWork office at the time. There's glass everywhere, there are cameras everywhere. And if you look down here, I'll get into it. We had a compromised printer, and it was really odd to us. We knew something was up because our attorneys had basically told us that there was a particular person that knew more than this particular person should have known, based upon very new events, and they couldn't figure it out. They thought that they seriously had a conversation with me to tell me that they thought our phones were bugged, and we switched. If you can imagine this, that our attorneys were using Telegram, and we were actually making calls over Telegram because we thought that might have been it. Well, as it turns out, it was something else, and we don't know if they had audio, but we do know that they were actually getting access to all of our copied documents and or scanned documents from this printer. And that is like, it was so obvious once we realized, oh, that's what it is. And we killed the printer later. We held it for a little while without any, we disabled all of its radios and all of its ability to connect to the network, but we killed it later. And if you look at this, you can see, that we had a lot of interesting things happen in the WeWork office, where people would come to the office, because it was open. So people would come to the office. We didn't know who they were. You can imagine all of the security implications there. And so we bought this place, and it was relatively big office space. It was bigger than our office space at WeWork, and it was actually radically less expensive per square foot than our WeWork office. And it was also a place to hold that cashed out $17,500 to $20,000 Bitcoin when Bitcoin was caving. So it was, I would say, I think in the end it was a really good decision. We also saved money on parking. That parking in Bellevue is horrible, and that was part of it as well. That it came with 5 parking spots. We had secure storage. It was a good place to hold the money. So anyway, if anybody ever asks about that, point them here. If anybody has any other questions about the details behind it, or why it is, or what it is, or anything else, go to Den and ask the questions. That's why it's there, so we can drill down on any detail, because I think I covered everything on it, but maybe I missed something. Next up, commercialization. This has been referred to in a couple of places, mostly in ways that are considering questioning what we did back then and why and everything else. And this is kind of the walkthrough of the tokenized micro license and the token sale model. And if you go in, we actually filed a provisional patent on the model, because we knew that it was a very unique token model, and we thought, we still believe that it has a very clear and clean value in how we use the token, how we sold it, and how others could use the same pattern. We've had a number of projects that are interested, and some in the past even that have built on it. So, and you can look at the, this is maybe the first time it's been published by us. I know we've had it out there. We've shared this before. It's been public. You could find this, I believe, with a Google search. But the tokenized micro license itself, which cites license model history, in order that you can understand it, that earliest forms of software licensing were either totally open, or when they started getting to proprietary licenses, it was version based. So you could have this version, and when we upgrade to a new major version release, you need to buy the next version. That was a lot of the OSs were that way. Then things moved into subscription licensing, where you didn't have to maintain the software on your own, that you would subscribe to it and it would either update itself or it would update on the server. And all of those were great advancements. And the point of this was to tie the way that current commodity cloud works with the actual software license. So it's not just a pure subscription, that it is more of that every single transaction that occurs between you and I is maintained with an actual cryptographic signature, and the acceptance of the license is built into the actual utility itself. So it's a really interesting way to do it, because it doesn't matter how long you hold your licenses before you use them. In fact, it's a good thing, right, with time in our case, but that a lot of times you'll buy software, if you're running a small business, especially a startup, you'll buy software knowing that you need to use it, but you're not actually using it for 6 months, and yet you're paying for 6 months, and it kind of sucks. So this was kind of the answer to that, where your tokens are your licenses and you don't use them until you use them. The patent was granted. It was part of the interchain patent itself, which makes sense. It's all tied together, because interchain patent does use this model as well. And we go in here, I can talk about the token sale itself. If anybody doesn't know, it was really interesting because, and it was confusing to some people at the time, especially, that we had 433,494,437 dragons that were created. And that's a Fibonacci prime. And it's part of our whole culture, in Den and in Dragonchain and everywhere. And we took 55% of those and sold those to the public. The remaining 45% were split up among Dragonchain Foundation, the Dragonchain team, the full team, the incubator, and then reserves. And the team in particular was said to be a 2-year, how do I say, it would not go out faster than 2 years, and it will last longer than that. It already has. In fact, all the team is on a 5-year vesting. It's either 4 or 5. I think it's 5-year vesting. So that's all in there. And then we took the rest and said, okay, we're going to run a sale from October 2nd, 2017, the first anniversary of Disney's open sourcing of Dragonchain. And we're going to run it for a month to November 2nd, 2017. And during that month, we would take the Bitcoin value, whether it was Bitcoin or Ethereum that you sent in, and we would give you the proportional amount of that 55% of dragons based upon the amount of Bitcoin that was sent in. And that was to determine the market price of the dragons for sale. So it wasn't like we came in and said, we're going to sell these for a nickel, or we're going to sell these for a dime, or in particular, like everyone else was doing, which was to scale it up and to make the later people pay more than the earlier people, so that the earlier people would tell the later people that you need to buy this, so that then they could later dump when they went on market. So we were trying to avoid all of those games. We succeeded in some ways, failed in others. In terms of getting more and more people involved. It was a very quiet sale, in my opinion, and then blew up after it went live, after the tokens were distributed, and all of the software licenses were obtained by the customers, the participants. We also talk about the modeling, the fact that it's in the ERC20, which is really interesting and valuable, because it was at least one of the earliest systems to operationally use 2 different networks, that is Ethereum in this case and DragonNet, to maintain your tokens. That is, the tokens are secured on Ethereum, yet used inside of DragonNet, which means we have the higher security, but we also have the lower fees and better scalability. And it is hybrid, so we don't have to answer to maximalists on some things. That there is a purpose. The intent is not, in this case, to be purely decentralized, because that is precisely the architecture that we were going for, that these businesses do need some protection of their data. They do need some areas of control. But what we want to give them is the ability to leverage, to decentralize the proof of their transactions as fast as possible. And then finally to have what is, and I think it's, there can't be much debate around it, that I don't think any other platform is combining Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic and Binance. And we would love to do more, but we've hit upon it's too much to maintain some networks, especially smaller ones, although we'd love to have them. And we are adding at least one soon, and hopefully more than that. And we're really going to start pushing the model where we want other people to come in and host those. So anyway, it talks about the pre-sale. It gives other info, interesting stuff. Then we get into Dragonchain and Disney. And this one's particularly interesting because I've sometimes spoken about this, but I've never gone into as much detail as I have here, where we talk about what was required in order to be to get your project open sourced out of Disney, and how it worked. The legal approvals, all of the different business units, patent groups, trademark searches, IT security, review of the open source components, do an OWASP dependency vulnerability check for security, obtain the technical approval from IT group, and basically offer up all of the management plans for the project itself. Basically, they didn't want it to be going out the door, any project, and just to fall and just not be maintained, and it's a black mark on on them and everything else. So we had to do all of these things, and we show the the actual original document that details all this info with all the approvals and everything else. So, we held that on the way out because it was basically the charter for the project itself, and the Dragonchain Foundation is contained in that document. So very interesting stuff. Let's see here. We can go now to, let's go to AMA. Here we go. So we have questions here. I'm going to go down to this one. And that was, we had the name wrong. It's an understandable mistake. Go from 29 to 30. So let's see here. Top questions. I'll get into these. I think I have one more thing to demo after this as well, that maybe we'll get into after with a question in here, hopefully. So VivTech, what are the implications of Ethereum 2.0 on Dragonchain interchain? Do you need a lot to do a lot to adapt to the new version? A very good question. And it's funny that you didn't ask about Tron 4.0, how we would handle, I'm joking, sorry, that one way or another. So this first question, and it looks like he asked two questions here. I don't know if that's allowed, but I'll probably answer both. I don't know all of the details of what's needed with Ethereum 2.0, but I know at least we're going to have to upgrade or maybe replace the node that we do our level 5 verifications in. The beauty is that when we do that, we will always have Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic and Binance running. So when, and if there's downtime on Ethereum 2.0, and I imagine we would maintain to follow them, that they're going to have some cutover. And have some period that sits between that you have to be careful sending transactions, I imagine, things like that. So we're gonna have to be careful about some of that. But since we're not sending any value, I mean, we're spending fees, but we're basically just hashing a hash of level 4 blocks, or I guess it's a hash of the level 5, which is a hash of the level 4 blocks, that it's not too risky to us. So we can probably ride along the old version until it cuts over and everything's clean, and we can then cut over. You know, I haven't talked to the devs about this yet, so we will see, right? Also, Neo Interchain was abandoned due to some issues. Now Neo 3.0 is on the pipeline, and he plans to bring it back. I would wait for that maybe, but I have said a few times before that we would love to talk to them. And in fact, there is a local office that was in the news even in Bellevue for Neo, and we know at least the lead there. So, you know, maybe that's the best way. You know, if they were running the node, we wouldn't have to worry about the maintenance. I know at the time, and I don't know what version it was when we cut off. Somebody could maybe look at the history there, but at that time we just let it go dormant because the developers from Neo couldn't tell us what to do to get it running. We didn't know, and I don't know now versus back then how many actual nodes were running in the world, but it was obviously not a common thing for somebody to be running a node like we were. So it was just too expensive to maintain, just took too much time. So I would love to bring it back specifically because it is a staking algorithm, and that it adds more diverse network and or verification method to our level 5 offering. So we would want as many as we can. People know DV's coming online sometime soon. We hope. We're working with them. We're working with them on a number of things, really good stuff. So that'll probably beat Neo, but who knows? Let's see here. Renegade Master 123 asks, in 5 years' time, what do you think will be the biggest revenue stream for Dragonchain? That's really hard to say, right? I would have to imagine it will either be the core platform or the identity system that, you know, I know we're going to be doing partnerships with the new entity that is going to be created for Dragon Factor that is coming up. It's very close. And we already know that there's really good, how do I want to say this? There's really good projects coming in, you starting to use Dragon Factor. So I could see it taking off pretty quick because there's a lot of interest, and everyone we talk to ends up wanting to solve their identity problems. And then there are a lot of, Twitter needs the help, and they maybe don't want it. I don't know. Then what do I hope will be the biggest impact? I hope it is that. I mean, it could potentially also be something like consulting or development, and it's not as scalable. We have a lot to do on our own products and systems, so we do development work, and we do have revenue from development work and consulting right now. But I would prefer to see the platform itself be the biggest source of revenue. Who knows? We'll see. Or maybe the products. Den as well, when it spins off, could potentially be. Let's see here. Dragon Time. One of the requirements Joe listed for Disney to grant open sourcing was to convince the organization there was a value to Disney. Darn it! I actually had that open. I closed it, didn't I? Let's see here. I'm going to do this. Let's see here. Okay, we'll go in here and we'll go down to Disney. How do I find it? Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see. So when I go in here, I go down to this, and I open that up over here, and we can go down to where my actual email for the request to open source had all these questions answered. Do we own the software released? Does source code contain any proprietary intellectual property? Blah, 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 patent. I'll start with this before the benefit to Disney. What is the benefit to the open source community? Many benefits, the potential unified blockchain implementers, that is Microsoft, IBM, Hyperledger. When we were thinking this, we were very much at that time thinking about, okay, we know because of what we had seen and worked on that this could be very beneficial to helping Hyperledger projects talk to Ethereum projects or R3 Corda or any of the platforms that a lot of the big businesses were using back then. It's like this is something that could really help there to unify, right? Open network effects, basically to get the project out there, the ability to decentralize blockchain data, the ability to take what people were already doing at the banks, which was very centralized, both R3 Corda, Hyperledger, and giving them an angle to selectively decentralize and to leverage the big public blockchains. Then to make a risk-averse avenue for open source project governance, basically that's get it out the door so that somebody else can actually work on it. So what was the benefit to Disney of releasing the software? We mentioned this was almost boilerplate for us, so this was not entirely my writing here, but it is great advertising, demonstrates active contributions to what was, especially at the time, even we thought inside the open source committee, really was the era of blockchains coming out. That was the big thing. It was the big competitor, I guess, to machine learning at the time inside of Disney. So translate into a show of goodwill by Disney into the tech world. Outside contributions, obviously, this is a huge thing that you want to do when you have a project that could see general purpose use outside of wherever you're using it, that if you open source it, you're going to get more people contributing and it will advance a lot faster. And we have seen that. Expansion of users, exploration of more use cases than we could inside of Disney. Talking about smart people, see, I didn't write that one. Basically to attract talent into the company. And that did work. We did get, in fact, it was international press when we advertised for interns to help us inside the company. And talent retention, basically to get to the smart people that were already inside of the company to stay there. So that's how we answered. It worked. That was a pretty easy answer for it, I think. So good question. Let's see here. Hodds FX. Do you think the Safe Pass app will become more widely adopted inside and outside of the USA? That's the particular thing that the team, both Medic Health and Dragonchain, are working on, and we're adding in a couple of partners that are swinging in really soon. Definitely something probably this week, and then we're working on some bigger fish in the coming weeks. We already have interest and good contacts trying to figure out where things fit, but mostly it's about adoption, trying to get attention to it, to the fact that, and we have not bragged about this at all, that it is a decentralized identity application as well, that what is Dragon Factor is rolled into it, white labeled directly into the application and the service, so that you hold your own data, you're the only one that can prove that it's yours, and various other things. And we have a lot of really interesting applications when you speak outside the US that, as an example, certain places in Europe, they're really interested in the geospatial contact tracing to know if I cross paths with somebody that has the virus and so forth, that we have the solution to the privacy issue with that we have the ability with this decentralized identity that is already in use in the app to solve the problems that those same places in Europe are having with inability to provide the service because the privacy doesn't meet what is necessary in GDPR and what they actually want with exposure of people's info. So we will be hopefully talking to them very soon, but we'll see. It's definitely part of the plan to get this out as much as possible. There's some interesting things coming in the next couple of months as well that we think will be focused on that, trying to get the exposure so that different municipalities or different businesses, and the businesses are the ones that I'm really interested in, that, if you need to get back into the office or you need to get your people, back into the restaurants, that we know that we have solutions there. So hopefully it's good. Let's see here. Spansol. Open source money will be released within a month, approximately. It is planned to promote it among the crypto community? Yes. And in the very least, it'll be in our own channels, Blockfolio, Signal, Twitter, of course, Telegram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever we have stuff, and on this show, of course, which is mostly directed to the crypto community. So yes, and if the answer is yes, will you reveal something about the promotion plan? So that's the most I can reveal. There are a couple other things that we're going to be doing that will help promote it, or that will promote it, and those will just be surprises. So it's all good. And some of them we're still working on the best ways to roll some of it out. So it should be fun. James Rocco, 22. Can you give some feedback on how the advertisement in Forbes went? Did you have any inquiries, and what were those conversations like? I know we've had a lot of inquiries lately, and I don't actually know myself personally, and I didn't see this until it was too late to ask someone else. I don't know if they're tied directly to the Forbes ad or not, but I know that we've gotten a lot of really good leads lately, and have had. I've been on. I've heard of many calls that were really interesting, and I've been on a couple of calls just yesterday even that were really good, that new projects coming in, new sources of revenue, new things to build, and we're helping them in all different ways, so it's fun. What's my favorite layer? Either the Dragonchain or cryptocurrency ones I like a lot. I like some of the ENA ones, particularly the tech ones. I like, probably my favorite layer would be red pills, or maybe memes. I don't post enough in memes, but I post too much in red pills. So what layer would I like to see created next? I actually haven't been able to put a lot of thought into what I would want to create myself, but I have heard of the projects or proposals I've heard recently. Art probably makes the most sense, because and I maybe not most sense, but it's the most attractive, because it would be very visual. You'd have a lot of fun stuff there, because you have a lot of historical stuff, a lot of new stuff, a lot of interesting stuff that would fit there generically. So you'd have probably a lot of different mix, which would be pretty cool. And I like seeing a lot of different types of visual art, so that would be good. And potentially there could be crossovers too, so it'd be pretty cool. And by the way, when we talk about that, the devs are working very heavily on lore and lot, and it will be a very interesting system. Most of you already know the general details. I'm going to try to get the white paper out, but one way or another, it's really coming around. It's really starting to look like something that is going to be good to use, fun to use, and be really powerful. Because when you actually hold the keys to own that particular layer, it means that you can change the administration of it. You can share that power with your community. That ownership, that it's an actual community ownership. And I think that will develop really well, especially the way we're doing the layer creation process. So we will see. It'll be fun. That's coming out relatively soon. I don't have a date on it yet, though. Tenacious Dragon also asks, people have been wondering why they can't vote or comment in certain layers. I'm assuming this is because of reputation. Can you explain that system? Yes. This was the perfect cue for me to go in, and I'm going to go to Den. I'm going to go down to the settings. All right. So if you own a layer, and we'll go into Dragonchain, and we'll explain how the reputation system works, right? So normally, let's say reputation is off. As an owner, you have the ability to turn on or off posting by anyone except a layer owner. So if you have lot, you can do any of these functions, right? But if you don't have lot, and you're just a user out in community, and say nobody can post except for us. So it basically becomes an announcements channel. But then people can reply. So it's a nice thing because I can post something and keep the posts relatively clean. You don't have too many of them, but all the noise can be in the replies, and it's a little more friendly to have noise in replies than it is in posts. You can also turn off voting. You can turn it for whatever reason. You can turn off image, video, or torrents. But when you have the reputation system turned on, you also have the ability to set reputation thresholds. So in this case, if you look at the Dragonchain layer, if you've never posted in Dragonchain and we don't know you at all, right? You're coming in as either a brand new user or somebody who just said, oh, look at this Dragonchain thing. I'm going to go in, I'm going to troll them. It's like, nope, you have to have a stellar reputation. And if you're generally a troller and you have maybe a 60 or 70%, maybe, I guess we'll say 4-star, you're pretty good, but you're not stellar. You can't post here, right? But you can reply here, and we'll go into that. But it's interesting because you can reply. So once you get enough replies or enough activity inside of Dragonchain itself, and people evaluate your content, once you get on this, we have it set to 13. Once you get 13 evaluations by people that are subscribed to the Dragonchain, then we ignore this requirement for site reputation, which is your site-wide reputation. You're a 4-star across the board. But let's say you're inside of Dragonchain, you're a 5-star. So you're meeting the threshold inside of Dragonchain. So now you can post, and that's the interesting piece that we are separating, and we are basically getting a reputation that is general based upon your posting across the site. And we have the ability to selectively say, okay, someone who's proven themselves to the community, we can lower our requirements versus someone who we don't know yet. It's a way to let them go to memes or go to some other layer that lets you post anything before you can come in here. Because this is a branded layer. This is a company layer. So it's not something where we want somebody that's a lot of trolling and noise. And you can see how we do the same thing with the reply reputation requirements, that we only require 2 stars to reply to any Dragonchain post. So let's say you can't post, but you can reply. That helps you build a reputation inside of our system. And the harder you make it for people to actually contribute in some way, the longer it would take them to build the layer reputation. So then we also have an interesting one on voting, and this might be where some of the questions come from, that we require 3 stars on the site-wide if you haven't been evaluated enough inside the layer. So if we don't know you enough, we don't want you building up a bunch of energy on the outside and downvoting the heck out of everything in our channel, which would be community members' posts and replies and everything else, because that's a form of trolling as well. We can control some of that. We can say, okay, once you get a good enough reputation, and after you have 5 evaluations of your content inside of Dragonchain, then anybody can vote. But until then, you need at least to have a medium. You have to at least be half and half, which would offer the ability to bring in controversy and ask good questions that might not be totally totally on from the point to the, Dragonchain community would ask them, but we aren't going to be getting the real haters and the people who really causing a lot of trouble. So, then we have the same thing for images, where this was a known thing, we would want to require a really high level of reputation before you can post an image. And the same thing even for the internal, it should probably be 4-star. That it depends, right? We'll see. And you can adjust this. So, because we don't want people, that's a really good form of trolling, is to post nasty images, because even if you have other forms to filter, it's hard to filter images. And in video, if you're on the outside, you have to have an absolute stellar reputation to be able to post a video. But once you're on the inside, once we know, okay, you're generally well behaved, anybody can post it. So anyway, isn't that fun? That's really good stuff. And it's not the easiest thing to understand, especially this threshold requirement, but it's really valuable. So thanks for the question. Let's see here, Vangs, and we're at 41 minutes. Man, see, I'm rambling too much. Sorry. Vangs, hello. Why is Super Happy Dragon Lucky Shuttle on season 0? Are we waiting for something like the adoption of docuseries to start season 1? Could you give us an estimated time about when season 1 will start? Okay, so here's what I would say. This is interesting. This is episode 2A, right? So it is just a hex number, and it was kind of a funny trolley thing that we did to. And we by the way, we talk a lot against trolling, right? Trolling is not good, but it is good to troll trolls, and it is good to to play with people on crypto Twitter. It's part of the culture, and it's a good thing. Some people don't get it, but and I understand that, because the culture is toxic and horrible. But it is a good way to get out to the crypto world, Twitter, that is. So it is just a hex number, and we started. I don't even think we had a 0x when we started. We'd have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure that the first episode was just 0. Am I right? I think it was just 0. And we counted up, and it wasn't until, and people are like, oh, it's 0 based. They're engineers. Okay, that was funny. But then when we went from episode 9 to episode A, which is the easiest place to make the mistake, because we're all decimal minded, people didn't get it at all. And we were like, well, it's hex. And so we added the 0x. So the 0x is literally just the way to signify a hex number. So it is not season 1. If anything, I would say this is probably season 2, right? That I would say 16 episodes per season, 0 based. And that's how we would say it. So yeah, we're at season 2, episode A. I don't know. It's episode 2A, but either way, that's how I would take it. And it'll just keep growing. So by the way, I like the I do like the I was going to say flag, but it's not a flag anymore. We are going to bring back flags, by the way. So we're going to have profile pictures like people have right now, but we're going to bring back flags too. Okay, so Spansel, any update on the SafePass app launch? They did just, to their credit, direct us and ask us for documentation. This is Apple and Google, I believe, for the app stores. Documentation on our HIPAA compliance documents. There are some particular documents you have to have between all of the entities that any data passes between. And there is, we believe, one piece that is, and I'm not an expert at this, so don't quote me on this, but there is some HIPAA sensitivity to one element, which is the temperature taken of a person. And so we have some angles on how to handle that with Dragon Factor, but either way, we have all of our forms signed. I think I have one form left to sign, but everything else is signed, and hopefully they will just approve it after that. We're maintaining everything else at least or better than they are in their their own apps, that is Google and Facebook, Google and Apple. So hopefully it'll be soon. In the meantime, I do know that the base app is at the website itself, and the funny thing is it's in Flutter, written in Flutter, so it's the same app, same code base that's running web as would be running on mobile. So that's nice anyway. How are companies going to be able to buy dragons and build time if dragons price is high? So we have a solution to this. In fact, we probably won't announce it until we go through it a few times, and because I know we'll have slight changes, but it's basically the ability to have a setup fee when you have an enterprise account, so that you don't have to even know about it, but we will go and basically put Dragons in a particular wallet for that company to build time in order to maintain the prescribed fee level that they have. If they need and are paying for a 1 cent fee versus a 12.5 cent fee, that we have to apply a certain amount of time. And rather than explaining everything to the enterprise client, what we will do is, white glove treatment, manage that behind the scenes, so they have the prescribed time and they actually own it and everything else. But everybody knows that won't happen immediately, right? That if I need, let's say I need 500 million time to get down to, I think, what, a quarter of a cent or something like that, because I have enough transactions and I'm going to have them tomorrow. How do you do that, right? So we have some things, we know we will be using CTLC for that, but we are working on we're trying to make it as little change as possible, but with as much effect. I know we're going to change how we're pricing the CTLC, which is going to be positive for the community, and we're going to also be changing probably the way that the leases run, that the terms, they'll probably be monthly, something like that, and you will probably get a much better amount pay. You'll get more money for it, and it'll be built into that enterprise company's setup fee. So there's real cash there. So we'll basically go in and purchase all of the CTLCs. Any balance we'll handle. We'll make sure you have enough time for the 30, 60, 90-day periods, because we see most of them look like it's a 90-day period, that we can build enough time up in a reasonable way with a reasonable fee over a 90-day period. So, there's a lot more there. It's pretty complex. Vork and Mess, are the plans around Dragonscale still the same, and approximately when will it be spun off? Thank you for your time, Joe. I know that we've said that it will be spun off in the future. So that's good. And we have basically finalized the deal, handshake, verbal. We're working on the paperwork right now for a European entity. And there will be obviously some differences because it's a different legal environment, but we hope that they will be much better, that it will be much simpler and more straightforward and more focused on the vision. So that's coming, and you'll know about it. We'll announce it. And there's really good team around it, and really good ideas and plans. And they already have some customers coming in and some good things happening. So that'll happen soon. Okay, World Economic Forum paper, Alxons on interoperability has recently been published. Big names like IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, no mention of Dragonchain. Do you think that DIN has a future if not recognized by the big institutions? I'm not sure if you're asking DIN or the platform itself. Dragonchain, yeah, obviously it's, I think it was written by Accenture in cooperation with Deloitte. They have, what is their goal? Their goal is to sell consulting time. That's what they do. That's how they make their money. And so that document, and I read it for some of the posts. I think there's a post coming out soon on particularly pointed to it and talking around the various things they pulled out. It's pretty well. It's very much in depth, and some of the quotes from the WEF document are pretty mind-numbing. There's stuff that they don't get at all that's very interesting on interop, that I'm surprised they put that much together and really don't know what they're talking about. So obviously they're going to mention IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP. They're big companies, and they're also customers of those firms. So it makes sense, right? And yes, I do think we have a future if not recognized by the big institutions. And behind the scenes, we are recognized by the big institutions. We aren't, though, paying for articles to be published on various crypto news outlets. So you won't see as much of us as you will people who, have some drive, whether it's a big entity's blockchain of choice or not. That's all paid activity. So, but anyway, watch for that article. There's a big article on that about the WEF paper that is really in depth and really worth reading and really, delving into figuring it out. So, okay, seeing a lot of node activity. Rise of the Dragon is coming. Who knows? Very active nodes as a result of one project getting started seriously, or more than one. I don't know. I know some people have traced what it is, and you can go into probably Telegram mostly to see what people think it is. And yeah, I'm not involved in what that activity was, so I can't answer. When will we see Alxons also? When will we see a DC financial report? Probably never, right? We're not required to. If we ever went public, maybe we would. I guess definitely we would if we ever went public, but I don't know that we will ever go public. For trade agreements, also Alxons. Is there a priority for the American market? There has been a priority for the American market simply because network. But we have enough network in Europe in particular. We actually have some good stuff that has been moving forward in Europe. Also, a couple of things in Australia. There's not as much in Asia as we would like, probably, but yeah, we would love to have a more international presence. And we have some really good people, and we have some people that are coming on that have been on in the past to help out too. So should be good stuff. Vorka Mess, will you ever shave off your beard? Yep, sure I will. I get annoyed with it after a while. I always do. How did you get it such nice? It's like, I don't know. Jeans maybe. Let's see here. Series on Disney is good. I assume the docuseries. How much is being done to advertise on various streams to make it aware? Right now, I'm not retweeting it because I don't like the way I look in film or to hear myself. But it'll be pushed on all of the crypto channels, and also, it's going to be on a traditional network, so that should be good. It's about crypto and blockchain. Surely someone like Pomp or anyone else should support this. Of course they should, right? But they should also support us by our very nature of being cool and beautiful and the most scalable architecture out there, right? But there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of misinformation. You have to understand, even some of the best people don't know if they can trust us because they don't know us. They don't live here. They don't, and maybe they're not technical enough. They to drill into the code and to see what's there. But we're trying as much as we can to say, okay, look, the 24-hour live stream should demonstrate to people that it's real. There were so many FUD comments about it being smoke and mirrors and that the platform wasn't actually working and all the rest of that. And I'm like, whatever. And we finally, we should have done it a year before, but the idea just hadn't come up in the right frame. But it was basically that whole thing came out of it that, hey, we should just demonstrate this, and we should do a 24-hour live stream so that people are forced to watch, right? There's no way around it that, yeah, we did it, and it wasn't just a 15-minute demonstration, so, or recorded for that matter. So it's pretty cool. What do you think would be the economic scope of DIN, lore and matter, tokens, and secondary markets? I don't know. It depends on where they get listed. Depends upon, it's a different entity. I don't know what rules that entity will have. I think it'll be based in Wyoming. That'll be good. And the fact that lore and matter are going to be ownable, that is, transferable to your own wallet. So anything's possible. And do I dare to make a price forecast? I might dare at some point in the future, but right now it's probably not worth it. Let's see here. Do you have something in mind for the future of JoJo Badge? We had thought about it. We might want to make an opening for Fellowship. We don't know. We might want to make an opening for Level 4. We don't know. I do know the one thing we have in mind which isn't priority right now, would be in the federalization of some of the components of DragonNet. That probably the most valuable thing would be able to launch your own DragonNet with some particular special capability with different levels. Maybe you have fewer verification levels. Maybe you have more. The beauty is the architecture allows it, and you could theoretically set up your own DragonNet and change some of the rules and maybe make it configurable for enterprises, and that'd be really valuable. Or maybe make it so this entire thing is in Europe, so the Germans can know that all verification comes out of Europe, and if that matters, that's a good thing, right? Let's see here. Renegade Master 123. What was the one early community contribution made you stick with a community-led approach despite the obvious downsides? We get a lot of interesting questions about this inside and outside. That, how do I say? I don't know that we have a community-led approach. I know we do have a huge aspect of what we do that is community, but you don't see what's behind the scenes on the normal, enterprise, boring side of operations. And so it is a mix. That's the first thing. Probably though, the thing that let us stick with it was that when we came out of Disney, we worked for a full year with no commercialization, no token, native token at all, and precisely to build the community and to educate the community. And when we decided to commercialize, it was amazing because everyone already knew, and it was the crypto world. So we established very early on that if we ever announce anything, it will be signed with this Bitcoin address, the private keys behind that Bitcoin address, and you can validate it. You can verify the signature here, and that really worked because we had when we only had a Slack group and it was public, it was crazy. We had dozens of attacks. We had people that would come in and completely impersonate me, and they would always do it in the middle of the night here in Seattle, so none of the team would see it. And it was beautiful because the people that were in the community that were in different time zones would say, that's fake, it's BS. We ended up being able to give them admins so they could delete stuff like that too. But it was interesting. So that was probably it. The fact that if you establish a good community, you foster a good community, and then you educate them. If it's something that's, as in this case, new tech, and not something that's really, really simple, it really pays off. And, you can look at our token holder count. It's hovered between 34 and 37,000 for the entire period, or at least nearly the entire period. And that's because of the community and because of what we're doing. We're trying to be as transparent as we can. So then Alexans asks, Renegade Master, what are the disadvantages? And the disadvantages are drama, and you've seen it if you've been in Telegram. Tremendous amounts of drama, and people that come on board at Dragonchain and then decide, and we've had people that have actually come on board knowingly trying to do funny business. So, once they're found out, there's always a lot of drama. It's crazy. Those are the disadvantages. A lot of you witnessed them, so apologies. Then Fellowship of Dragon. So the fellowship that we have. Why do you need personal information? It's because you have to sign an NDA, because there is it's meant as a faster feedback loop where we can get better, lower risk feedback on designs and ideas and messaging, right? Mostly messaging, actually. We talk a lot about how can we describe this best, or who might have an idea of how to get in contact with someone. Can it not be done without giving out all details asked for? No. So VivTech, we'd have to know who you are, and I won't know who you are. So if that's the problem, don't worry about it. But someone at Dragonchain, there'll be a document held that knows who you are. Do I have any pets? Yeah, I have. Well, I don't. My kids have pets, I guess, right? And let's see here. What is the single shift that could ignite Dragonchain and adoption of Dragonchain in a similar business? I think mostly it's awareness. When people know what's actually possible with this technology, they'll get it. And we have a couple of things. We're constantly trying to refine that communication. How can we show the value of it? And there's some stuff coming into Eternal, and I don't know the dates yet, but that should really make it clear why the base level of what we're doing is valuable. Hod's Effects, do you think global ID is a competition to Dragon Factor, or is this a space they can both coexist or perhaps interoperate? And so we have global ID here, and it looks like it might be a competitor, and they're doing some interesting stuff, and they are definitely doing some of the same things, and it looks like they have some different focuses. There's messaging inside, which could potentially be a good messaging app. I don't know. I don't know how they're doing their verifications. They're obviously looking for providers. There's also Sovereign, that is basically, it's a very academic approach, the full white paper on digital identity and self-sovereign or decentralized identity. Really good team. I've never met them. I think some of them are even local here, at least that I know of. I've never met them, but I've heard amazing things about them. And way back, I've read their white paper. It's been a long time since I've kept up with it. They also tied to that is Evernym, and I don't know the relationship, but it's either the same team or this is the productization of Sovereign. I'm not absolutely certain, but it is the crypto side of it anyway, and another good thing. So those are all potential competitors, and yeah, we could coexist because there's a lot of work to be done inside of this space. And frankly, we're trying to take the very pragmatic, utilitarian, boots on the ground approach to make this stuff work for real. Get it out there, get it in real applications behind the scenes in a way you don't even see it, right? And that's why I think it'll work, because in the long run, we can interoperate with these networks. And I know that today that we could probably very easily interoperate with them. And if we can partner with them, it's even better. And as we spin out, we have a couple of really unique angles that should be, and that's both on right out the gate. We're going to have a few of them that are very unique, a few features, and then I don't know what phase it would be, but we have plans already to do some very interesting ways to measure your humanity. That is, if you are a human, to be able to prove, and you can't ever prove anything, but you can provide the ability to measure the likelihood that I am a real human being and that this is my real and only identity, things like that. So those are features that we already have designed, and we know we can build, but we have to get legal arrangements in place. We have to get this spun off first. We have to do a whole bunch of other things before we tackle any of that. So I think that was it. So that's all the AMAs. I think I actually ran a little over. Apologies. Yep, 103. But next week, I don't know what's up next week. Hopefully we'll have guests. Subscribe, vote this up, tell your friends, have a good time, have fun, but be safe. Talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.